Good morning, good morning. I
Good
hate saying
morning.
good morning. You know why?
Tell me.
Because when Carlos watches this on Thursday afternoon, he's
Mhm.
like, "Oh, it happened in the morning." I try to like to make it as seamless as possible, even though we drop references to Saturday and this and
Yeah,
that,
yeah.
whatever, right?
Gotcha.
Hello, people. This is season 7, episode 2, number 267 of the Decoded Podcast.
I found the name of that. I looked up the obstacles that they
Oh,
offer for the 5K
hmm.
for the Tough Mudder, and the one that is the ice bath. It's called Arctic Enema. I like the you. You just your face is like, oh, oh,
That's quite the name.
yeah. Take a dunk in this 34-degree ice pit. Hmm.
So, for our listeners and watchers, Chris is doing the Tough Mudder today.
Hmm.
Chris has
Hmm.
been preparing for the Tough Mudder. Chris is now reading about the Arctic enema that he's going to receive. Um,
That we're all gonna participate in. It's a collective Arctic enema.
ay, ay, ay.
Yeah. Yep.
The only thing that could make this better is if we were doing Decoded live as you are
Oh,
running through the obstacle course.
believe me, I tried to figure out if I had the funds to kind of like do that because, and whether it was somehow GoPro Live or something, I couldn't make it happen. I won't even be able to bring. I don't think I'll be able to get my camera at all. Like I won't be able to run with it. I won't be able to make that happen. But because part of it is there's nowhere to really put it. Like if I had a check, like I didn't even see in the actual rules, but I'm sure like a couple of the obstacles, you actually have to pull yourself up on your chest. So it's
Oh,
not like you could get the chest kit, right?
what about on your head?
Could, and then I would say you could risk, there's $400 somewhere at the bottom of an ice pit, right? And it's not like you can go down and start,
And
you know, dunking yourself to find it. So this is gonna be footage before, after, and just the stories that we can tell.
oh, like the olden
Back,
days.
back in the olden days. Yeah, it's the news at 6, and you didn't even know there was news until 6 o'clock. So,
So the other thing then,
mhm.
naturally for me, I think of wearable tech, but
Mhm.
even that, wearing glasses, like are you do you wear glasses when you like? Are you going to be wearing your glasses when you do
I'm
this?
going to. Yeah, we're
Okay,
gonna.
okay.
And if they get broken, I'll just figure out how to fix them. Like there's no like I don't have another option. This is just one thing that I have to. And this, that's I like that question a lot. First I'll say I don't have any option. I got to wear glasses. I if it's a nice clear day, I could probably go without them. I mean, I did a play without them. I did this last play that I did, the first of 3 scenes I had to play a little kid, so I didn't wear my glasses for the very first scene. So I've been known to do it. But here's another kind of little uh, I don't know, a bit of Clough history. All through my life, when I was in sort of elementary and secondary school, I had a constant sense of not being able to do well at certain sports because I had to wear glasses. Like I was interested for a little while in playing football and rugby, and I wanted to wrestle as well. There was something I wanted. My school that was at was a wrestling school. A little bit of football, but it was like a wrestling school. You don't even hear that anymore, really, do you? Like in Ontario, like that school's a wrestling school.
Yeah, you
Like
don't.
it's the high school sport, but ours was. Um, I remember, yeah, Mr. Matthew. Damn, I can't believe that came back to me. Anyways, he was the one of the phys ed teachers and the coach. So all through high school, I always felt like somehow I was limited because I had to wear my glasses. And I played a little bit of basketball in high school and I broke several pairs, just not getting up, not turning fast enough. The ball, like the snap pass, and I didn't get my hands up, and or I hit the ground, contesting for the net or whatever. So but I always had this sense of less than in relation to the glasses. Like like there's things that I can't do or that I can't do well. So where I am right now is like if I break them, I'll just figure out how to fix them. And if I break them doing something like this, that's okay. That's okay. I'll have to deal. I think I have a backup pair somewhere that I would suffer wearing. I should actually just sort of figure out where I put those. But yeah, that's how I'm gonna roll. I guess actually, as I'm talking now, maybe I should wear my backup pair as I'm
Maybe.
saying it. Yeah. Okay. So I've just added something to my list. But anyways, I'm gonna wear them. I'm gonna wear them.
Okay, so I was moving in the direction of, I guess the next step is to have to be implanted with a chip in
Yeah.
our brains that can do the live YouTube thing just by anything we see, everybody else sees. There's the next progression. So let's get those chips ready so that people who do Tough Mudder will be able to what's the word I'm looking for?
Not compromise.
No, publish their
Oh,
experiences
I see.
live.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Curate and publish. Curate and publish. So
live action.
live action. I wish part of me, because I'm down like that, like you are. Like I like to sort of capture that stuff. I capture more than I ever really review, which is kind of funny. Like just have so much more content that I'm like. It's not even. It's not about nostalgia anymore. It's the opportunity to share it for. I feel like where we are with that kind of like digital sharing. It's not about sort of going back home and flipping through your photos again. It's about who can you share your experience with. So video, photo has to kind of come along for the ride. It puts the fact in artifactual. I just made that up.
Hey, it's all good.
Mm-hmm.
I find these days more people are making up more words than ever before. I do it all the time. People are
For
like,
instance,
I don't have a for instance. I just know when I'm talking to people, I say shit and they're like, is that real? I'm like, no, I just made it up.
it's
Oh,
real because you said it.
right. But it's not like in it out of a dictionary or anything like that. So,
Mm-hmm.
many proper types will not engage using the terms because it's not in a dictionary.
You know what's cool about that?
Tell me.
You may know this. I think you know this. I'm always making up jargon for my students, and I do it so that I feel like sometimes I can make the jargon sound better than school can.
Mm,
So for instance, like protect the weekend has made it back. Like that's just followed me
sweet.
everywhere. Push-ups. I talk about push-ups as the necessary skill builders towards a larger goal. So right now, the crew that I'm working at, like we're just hammering on stacked addition and subtraction. We're working on money sense. So stacked addition, subtraction. We tried to get up to 3 digits left of the decimal. Like we tried to get big. We had to bring it back a little bit. Some students can, some students can't. So eventually we're going to make it to money. We're going to go create a party budget. Like we're going to get there. But I've told them, I'm like, these are push-ups. And like, what are push-ups? I said, well, not too many people do push-ups just to get better at push-ups. They're a component of something bigger, upper body strength, flexibility, whatever. Mindfulness, I guess you could say. So there's that one, push-ups. Pro tip I've started to use. Pro tip is, so during our morning meeting, I'm sort of, I have up on just a running record that I put up of the reminders and the things that we've kind of covered. Some community classrooms sometimes do the weather, like you put different componentry in there. My kids, it's just more like, here's a heads up. It's their heads up display. And I call them pro tips, and I have them around the classroom. So like yesterday's pro tip just said it's tissue season. And they're like, what's that mean? I'm like, it means that when you start scratching your eyes and your nose and your mouth, like you got to make sure you're sanitizing your hands. So I love making up that jargon. And then I hear my kids saying it to each other. And I'm like, good, it's getting in. The learning's getting in. The adults, they're like, what does protect the weak? You got it written on the board. What's that mean? I'm like, all right, let me explain it to you. So I love making up language that is completely idiosyncratic, but entirely useful to the moment.
Mm-hmm.
And it's funny, at some point, it goes from idiosyncratic to actually like a dialect. Like it's kind of how you talk as a teacher. I think for me, it's just also a little bit how I talk in general. I don't know if it's so specific as it's just teacher style. I think I kind of use it all the time. I think maybe not.
No, it's good. I like it. I like the pro tip idea. I like you feeding the kids with this idea. like the push-up idea, like you do these little things that you don't think is worth much when you're doing it, but as time goes on, you find out that things like the push-ups and the other little things add up.
I
And
think they do.
well, you can think it and I can think it, but you and I have both seen it. Little
Yeah.
little things we do end up propelling us in a direction where people say, "How'd you do that? How are you able to do that?" And it's like you put in the time, you put in the reps. You don't just do it, right? So today, when you're running, at some point, somebody might look at you and say, your running partner might be like, "How did you do that?" Well, you've been exercising and you've been running and you've been doing all kinds of training that we all hope
Hmm.
come in handy today when you're doing this tough mutter thing. So,
Hmm.
and even if it doesn't help you, all the push-ups you've been doing are good for you. So it's like at the
It
very
counts for
least,
something.
yeah, it's not wasted. It's not wasted time, it's not wasted energy. It's made you better. And maybe not in terms of helping you with the mutter, but it's the small things. I was telling you and Jamie yesterday about the master class thing that I engaged in that was like 15 minutes or something. I like the way master class has full-fledged 10 lessons, 2 hours long by one person class, and
Hmm.
how they've grabbed little pieces, little excerpts from different people and packaged them into something complete. And so one of the things that I engaged in yesterday was called it's the small things. It was something like that. It's the small things. And it was like 6 clips of 6 different masterclass instructors talking about the idea of doing something of their process and a part of their process that is tiny and might not mean much on its own. But when you put things together, it means a lot. Because if you're missing that piece, you're going to have chaos or you're going to not have chaos, whatever it is you're looking for, right?
Hmm.
It was just cool to think about because it had me thinking about my everyday work and the small things. And now you're talking about push ups, which in the big picture, those are small things for your students, but they come together to make better and bigger things happen. So
Hmm.
I like it. I like Protect the Weekend too. Lately, I've been thinking about Protect the Weekend, and I've been thinking about how you, the way I take it is you spend in the 5 weekdays, you do everything you can so it frees up the 2 weekend days.
Hmm.
And I kind of don't like that anymore. I don't want to work, so to speak, in a certain way for 5 days to live for two. And I don't mean live like sitting on the couch, my feet up, eating bonbons. I mean like I don't know. I've kind of flipped it. I don't even know how to explain it. I just playing with it in my head.
The
But
way I push the kids is just part of it is one of the starting points for me with that was because I noticed that there is in the students a lack of accountability, a lack of discernment between when is playtime and when is work time. And some of them would argue I'm multitasking, and I debunk that. I'm like, there's no such thing. It's not really, not if it's entirely, not when it's not when it's human centered activity. You can't multitask. If you include a robot or a machine, it's true, but even you are not actually the multitasker. You are using multi spaces to do different tasks that are just important to you. And I try and walk them through that. And the kids were just like, no, no, I can. I mean, from their point of view, often what's said is, no, I can read and listen to music. I'm like, I said the science, and I mean, I just kind of hit them hard. I'm like, yeah, the science argues otherwise. Your identity argues otherwise. Like you're not, it's a split consciousness. It's not the best of both. And there's a very narrow set of circumstances that allows you to get the best of both experiences or multiple tasks. And I mean, the way that I just kind of go is like, even if you if you have to wash the dishes and chop wood at the same time, you can't, right? Like it's just you physically can't. Sorry. So that's something that all you can do is quick task switching, wash your dishes, switch, chop wood. But then it's still time. It's everything is still moving forward in a single line. And I tell the kids, if you want to have a bunch of different lines moving at the same time, then you have to outsource it, right? Like if you're not actively washing your clothes in the machine while the machine does it, but you had to sequence one at a time. You had to start it and then you have to get it. So you still have tasks that are related to it. And there's this multitask kind of thing going on. So the Protect the Weekend came out of this idea that the kids would say that, you know, bless their hearts, they're so present. They're trying to do everything at one time and then sometimes doing nothing specific. And they can't see that sometimes it's good to say, if I put in 10 minutes of focus, concentrated work here, then I take my 5-minute break. It's the Pomodoro kind of mindset, right? Like do work, take a break, scheduled amounts, 15, 5, 15, 5, 15, take a longer, 15, 5, 15, 5, and then take a longer. So that's where the Protect the Weekend, it literally came out of, I gotta figure out some sort of a jargoned way. And it really was less like I didn't sit there and say, how do I want them to remember this? I think it just came like, this is one way that kind of makes sense to me. Because me, I want to, what we are doing exactly right now. I have work to do today and I have to go and do the Tough Mudder. Like that's something that's blocked in, just like a work day. I have to do that. The question then became, do I also have some weekend, which is meeting with you for the podcast? Like this is a perfect example for me. And at one point last night, I'll tell you something. This is how I was really proud of myself. When I sent you the text last night, just kind of saying about doing the podcast, my original text was, so my text to you, I have to look at it. And this is exactly what I'm striving for in my own world. Okay. So where is it? So I put to you, can do the pod tomorrow if we can roll at 7 and I got to be off by 8:15. So conditional, made it conditional. This is how I can actually, well, no, here's where I'm going with it. Is I got to stay tight to that timeline. You cool to push it up. And you're like, yeah, let's do it. My first draft of this, not sure if I can do the podcast tomorrow. I can't spend a lot of time in the pod because I have to leave by a certain time. And I looked at that and I thought, no, that's not how I want to live this moment. I want to say to you directly, I'm down, but it has to happen within this time. Can you work within this time? And for me, I felt like I flipped a switch of really, really understanding that Protect the Weekend mindset. It is about efficient use of time for both fun and work. And this, I love that you're just like, yeah, let's do it. And we're doing it. Right. That little switch, dude, I will tell you, I was like, I surprised myself. I'm looking at the language. I'm like, what is it about writing it this way in the passive, like almost like negative voice, that it's almost like you might read it on the other side. Like, does he really want to do it? Or it might lead you to say, you know what, dude, I kind of get it. It sounds like you're busy. So it's like I'm setting up a negative response. It's like I'm begging the universe to tell me no, when in fact I need to just do it. So that's like, 52-year-old revelation. I'm not sure if my students are going to hit that moment, but I realized how powerful and important the way that I wrote that. I realized I was not writing it the way I should. I wasn't.
So I find myself doing that too, writing things or saying things in a way that it's like I say it and I'm just kind of like, oh, the universe will just shut it down. I do that. And I also like what you said about, do you have time to work and live this weekend?
Yeah.
And that's all I was getting at. Basically, like, I was just getting at, do I wanna go and these are my words, my vision. Do I want to go crazy for 5 days in a row so that I can have two that are just low? And the answer for me is no. The answer for me is I want to try to find some flow to it, because
Mhm.
there are some weekends where I will do I will try to do nothing, and then there are other weekends where I do too much. I'd like to find more of a balance that works for me. And what we're talking about reminds me of something that I recently talked to both of my boys about. It's like, so my one son was studying for a test. He just had it yesterday, but he found out about it in the mid last week. So he's starting to learn how he learns, and it's really cool because he knows that if he does some push-ups every day, that when he gets to the push-up contest, he's rocking. He's not even thinking, he's just doing it, right? And so I remember he started studying, and then Saturday comes, and I'm like, what time are you going to dedicate today to looking over your notes and whatever? And he's like, it's Saturday. I said, what does that mean? It's Saturday. That
Love it.
doesn't mean anything. It means you're taking a day to walk away from something important that you know you need to prep for. And he's kind of looking at me. I'm like, so the difference with Saturday is that you don't have to spend 5 hours at school today and study. You get to
Yeah.
do a little bit of studying and then spend 5 hours doing the other fun stuff you like to do. So it's like,
Perfect.
yeah, it doesn't, in my opinion, and what works for me and what I think works for him is you don't let it go. You do a little bit every day.
Yep.
And I feel some of that burn because I help him with his studying. So it means that I'm also studying, even though I might not want to study that day.
Yeah.
Right? You get what I'm
Yeah.
saying? So,
Absolutely.
yeah. So that's all I'm looking for. But that's a 46-year-old mindset that's come from getting burned a million times and finding success here and failing here. It's like you find what works for you. You make it happen, right? So I tell my both of my boys, and I know they don't get it, and I laugh because they're like, "What are you laughing for?" I'm like, "I know you don't get it." They're like, "What do you mean?" I'm like, "I've 46 years on this earth has led me to what I think is a profound understanding, and then I'm just literally giving it to you." I'm like, "I know what that for me, if you give me something, I'm probably not going to do anything with it. I need to actually earn it. I need to toil with it.
Earn
You
it
know
or
what
live it.
Yeah, I need to do something with it." So sometimes I will artificially live something so that I can kind of feel
Yep.
that I've earned it. You know what I'm
Yep.
saying?
Absolutely.
So
Yeah, and I
yeah,
orchestrate those things for my students and my own kids too.
I like that, orchestrate. So we're
Yeah.
orchestrating those things where
Yeah.
I like to use the word artificial because it may
And
not be.
engineering.
Yeah,
Yeah.
engineering. Yeah, you build what you can with what you got if you can't actually experience the real deal thing.
Hmm.
It's just cool. You find what works. So now my son knows. So when he wrote the test, we came home from work yesterday and we're like, "How'd you do?" He's like, "There were one or two questions that were kind of weird to me." But he goes, "Everything else was a joke." And we laugh. We're like, "What does that mean?" He goes, "I start reading the question and I could finish the question because I knew the answer." And we're
Yeah.
like, you know,
That's it.
and then I said to him, "Bro, like," I said to him, "I'm proud of you. Whether you get 60% on the test or 85, I'm proud of you because you put in the work. Like
Yeah.
you got to learn, and you're not always." The other thing my kids think is put in the work equals success.
Nope.
No. There is
Who said
never.
it? It just means more work. Like
Yeah,
that's really what it is. That Jill Scott, the Radical Candor, it
okay.
talks about you got to check it. It's very good, dude. I still I haven't even made it through like I'm partway through the Jocko. So in the master class, anyone listening in, I'm partway through Jocko still, partway through Jill Scott. I haven't made it through a full class yet. Starting to realize this is kind of how I did university too, to be honest. It's reminding me of my university days. But she talks about that. She takes you through the this idea of the better way to do praise, right? So part of it has to be very context specific. It has to be sort of like you want to kind of have it honest. You also want it to You want it to be context specific, honest. There's one more thing that she talks about, but also recognize that in our world, you have to, oh, it's like, you also, this is part of feedback and the praise. Expect that the praise leads to a next step so that the praise isn't just singular. So I'm not going to tell you, and you don't praise, um specifically, like avoid praising vague kind of like, you know what, your effort was really great. Make it very specific about an outcome that led to the betterment for somebody else, the system, or your team, right? And this idea of praise, she said, it's kind of, it's she said it's funny, but praise naturally comes before more work. There's no stopping point. And the trick there is how do you, in some small way, this is where I kind of realize, how do you, in some small way, enjoy the praise enough that that's the celebration enough so it doesn't stall you and make you kind of like just sit on your praise? Because the truth of it is that you then have to move on to your next thing. And sometimes that's, I hear something that's in that genre, when students will say, oh yeah, I take the week off of my birthday. And I'm like, I'm not disputing the amazingness that your birth was. I said, but really a whole week? Like that seems to be, and to me, I say to the students, like, just in general, whether it's about school, to take your time away entirely from anything. Like when I go on holidays, I don't stop reading, right? I keep doing other things that make me happy. I still write, like I do other tasks. I eat. I might do less work, but I might even think a little bit about work too. So it's a funny, like I understand that celebrations are important. I understand that celebrations are a way to connect with the community. I get the commemoration of it. I get the rite of passage. But it is kind of funny sometimes how praise also should lead. There should be something about it that launches you into your next action, to feel like you can like use some of that energy, not just to like hold you in place. So I love how your boy was rocking it, because that's really what it was. The work led to him feeling good, and he was like, now I'm on to the next thing. Whatever, it's done. And you move through, right? I love that.
They both of the kids both of the kids know, like, they're starting to they're starting to get this idea that you are guaranteed to fail at something if you don't put in any time.
Yeah.
If you put in the time, your chances improve majorly, but there's still the possibility of that failure. It's reduced. And I guess the importance of that failure is learning whatever you can from it and kind of banking it. Like at this point, I've told them I've got lots of failures and I've got a whole bag. If you could imagine, each failure is a marble. I got bags of marbles all around me. Um, but at this point, it's like a badge of honor. I'm starting to see them as positives because from all of them, they have a story. And some of the stories aren't good, some of the stories are really good, and some of them are evolving. Like I'm in the middle of actually dealing with a few things. I was reminded of a situation 2 days ago when I was at a school. I was reminded of a situation, and it reminded me of a human that I don't particularly like. And then it got me reflecting on why I don't like that person, and what part of that is me, and what part of that is them. And when I was telling the person that was in front of me that what they were doing was reminding me of a person that I don't really like, they were like, "Tell me about it." I'm like, "I don't have the time right now, but I think it's a I can now look at it as a funny thing, not a oh my god, I need to go to a corner and breathe deep for 5 minutes and feel better." You know what I'm like? It doesn't affect me like that anymore
Mhm.
because I'm shifting and evolving and changing, right? So having said all that, the 60 that my son might get, it happens. It's a moment. It's a shitty moment. So you take it for what it is, and you try not to get too high or too low, because every time you are given praise and you friggin' milk that thing and you get a spike, that drop is going to hurt, because you're not going to be praised all day every day like that. And even if you were, man, your dopamine receptors would just explode. They wouldn't be
Yeah.
able to handle all that spike. So it's like even your body would refuse it. Your body's like, no, you can't have praise all the time. You cannot be rewarded 24/7. We can't exist like that. They're starting to get it. They're starting to get it. The little one's starting to get it with, some failures that I don't even like to use the word, because it's not a failure. Experiences in life that don't go the way that you thought you wanted them to go. So you get what you get, and then you keep moving forward. You're still doing the push-ups every day. You're still doing the push-ups. The more push-ups you do, the greater the likelihood you're going to improve in strength and endurance, but it doesn't mean you're always going to be the best. There's always going to
Hmm.
be somebody better than you. I tell them, you guys are young. You got lots of time ahead of you. It's funny when they talk about doing work or focus or whatever, their mom will tell them, and I'm paraphrasing and I'm kind of adapting. My wife will tell them, your father's your father's super strength is his commitment and focus. If your father commits to something, nothing's going to stop him from getting what it is he's looking for. And it's funny because they're like, that's awesome. And I've heard her kind of say to them, and I'm not going to say it right, but she said, but it's also dangerous, because with that focus and commitment, it's dangerous because nothing else exists when your dad goes there. So when your dad goes there, he's not going to help you with this and he's not going to help you with that. And he's not like, things aren't going to get done around here that he would normally do because of that commitment and focus.
Hmm.
It's really cool because they still don't understand, but they see it sometimes if I'm doing something or working on something. And a very small example, they call me to dinner. I'm like, I'm not coming to dinner. I'm not leaving this computer, or I'm not leaving this space in the house until this thing that in front of me is done the way
Hmm.
that I've committed to getting it done. That's the danger, because when I say that to them, which I say rarely these days, when they hear me say that, they're like, whoa, okay, leave dad. We're not going to see dad until dad's done. And that is just, it's a strength. It's more of a strength than a weakness, but in those situations it's a weakness. If I commit to something, get out of the way. I've said this on the pod. I will bulldoze you or whatever's in front of me to get to where I want to be. And it doesn't mean, like if I tell you I want to be a millionaire, it doesn't mean I'm going to just spend 24 hours a day trying to make money. It just means that there is a focus, and I'm going to work towards that focus. And I know that I'm going to fail, and I know stuff's going to get in the way. And I know that I'm going to need to step away from it here and there to re energize and come back. But it's there. I've not forgotten about it. And, they say to me, well, how do we get that? Well, you got to go through some garbage times. You have to fail, and you have to experience maybe some really bad emotion and disappointment and regret. I'm looking at the ingredients that have helped form my super strength. I don't wish that on anybody. I don't want to say to my kids, "Oh, you need to go skip school for a year and then get caught and then blah 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 to get here." They're like, "We don't want to do that." I'm like, "Yeah, I don't want to do that either, but that's just the path. That was my path. That was the path." I laugh now because I live in a house, I have a job, I have a family, all the things that people want in life, but you don't know the road or the roads that's going to lead you to that, what you might call success in the end. You don't know. So, and I'm way more humble now than I was 10 years ago. I sometimes sit quietly I sit in humility. I think about situations. I'm like, God damn, did I really do that? Did I say that? Wow, that's not cool. You know, I have these moments, and it's like, try not to live in the past, but sometimes they come,
Mhm.
and it's good because it reminds me that humility will propel me farther than I could go without it. And I struggle. I struggle. I see a teacher I know who's blabbing about something, and they're going on, and they invented this, like, you see it, and then the ego kicks in, and I'm like, I literally put my hand on my forehead. I'm like, just go away, ego. Come out later. Now's not the time. What's gonna who's gonna benefit from you opening your mouth? Like, these things, I tell you, 10 years ago, and I'm excited for the next 10. What am I going to
Mhm.
be if I keep on this path? What am I going to be like in 10 years? I feel like I'm going to be a superhero in 10 years if I keep going down this path. I
Mhm.
like that idea.
Your original sort of like your original framing of that focus, it it reminds me of robot mode that I was
Mm.
talking about, like getting out and running. And it's funny, there's also the I forget what it's I think I might have mentioned this before, like the paperclip problem. And it's this idea, it's a philosophical, it's like a thought experiment that if you create an AI that its sole purpose is to create paper clips and you give it the parameters that it has to be the best possible paperclip ever made, and that its purpose is to create paper clips, that there's this philosophical sort of argument that eventually could lead to the apocalypse, because the AI and the machinery that it's connected to will do everything to divert resources towards it and focus towards it in order to achieve that goal. And I think there's been argues that get for and against, and there's some really interesting articles that talk about it, about how, you know, um, just the problems of assuming that an AI is going to destroy the world, kind of a thing that's in that genre. But I like this. I think there's a lesson to be learned in there around the the automation of our instincts towards focus. And I think that's why it's so, if I go back to the Protect the Weekend, is that it's an interesting, fascinating, but inherently flawed approach, because it's not removing the human from it, right? It's just inserting, you have to make sure, because to maintain balance, to actually struggle to maintain balance, whether it's at the micro or like the macro scale, means that, you know, you saying you have to finish your task is not maintaining balance. Like you know what I mean? Like there has to be an acceptance of that you're actually not balancing, though you are producing something, you are satisfying your prime directive. So it reminded me of that. I like that example. I mean, the paperclip, the factory has to grow because it has to make more. In order to grow the factory, maybe there's a little town nearby. Well, that town needs to be destroyed and leveled in order to make a bigger factory. Just from having to make, you could put any product in there, but something as simple as a paperclip. Um, I think there is an element of, I think it's important to be mindful of what you might be damaging with that focus. And I get into that same mindset too, right?
And well, that's why it's a danger,
Yeah.
because but I know that. And I know, like I was telling you, so when you say protect the weekend, I know where it came from, and I know why you say it. I know. When I take it literally and think about the 5 days and the 2 days, I tell you I prefer a more balanced approach. So in
Hmm.
that doesn't mean on Saturday and Sunday I don't kind of keep doing a little bit of the work that I know I need to do to keep me rolling through the 5 days I got to go to work.
Yep.
But I also tell you that I know that if you want to be good at something,
Yep.
you're gonna need to find an imbalance. 110%. That
I
at
think
least
that's where
that
you have
worked
to
for me.
float at macro. I think that's where you have to really float at macro. You go at that 10,000 feet and kind of
But you
say, okay, I'm putting 5 hours in right now at this, but I know once I do, I will have some free time on the other side to kind of like, that's that one. Like, and I think that's good to know that. It's good to know that.
but it's for me, I don't know. I don't even have to go macro. For
Oh, you don't?
example,
Okay.
well, I'm just saying every day I know I'm going to be on the treadmill for an hour,
Yep.
and it's going to look crazy to the family when I say to them, if it's a Saturday or Sunday and we're going to do something, okay, map this out for me, family. They map it out. I'm like, that hour, I'm gone. They're like, what do you mean you're gone? I'm like, I'm on the treadmill or I'm gone for a walk, and I'm gone for at least an hour. And they're like, whoa, that's crazy. And I'm like, yeah. So you can see that as they can see that as, wow, dad's crazy. Like, that's not balanced. I'm like, in order for me to find my balance, I need to give my body that time to do
Yeah.
its thing. To you, it's crazy. To me, it keeps me mentally sane every single day. So in the imbalance, you find balance. You're preparing to run a half marathon.
Mhm.
You've been dedicating hours to running, hours to exercising. Somebody might say, Clough's crazy, man. He's going for another like 10K run. Like, that's nuts. That's extreme. You're like, no, these are my push ups so that when I do run that half marathon, I don't feel like a bag of crap and my body is like accustomed. I mean,
Temperate.
some people tempered, some people can get up and just run.
I
I'm
know.
not one of those guys.
Neither am I. Neither am I. Yeah.
So you want to be great at something. You and I, this came up recently. I don't know how or who was part of it. I know you were part of this conversation. Jordan Peterson said it. These people who are really great at something, or these
Mm.
leaders who are running organizations and blah, 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 there has been major sacrifice for them to get to where they are. There's been major imbalance. We don't even have to go there. Look at a director of education, look at superintendents of education. I know I've said this to you. I call it selling your soul. They've sold their soul to their job. This is my perception, because you can't do, well, maybe you can do superintendent or director work 9 to 5. You could try, but then what do you do but the meetings at 7? Or the thing on the weekend, the two things where you go and you visit whatever's going on at certain schools or certain things within your school board. Like, you, I'm framing it negatively. I should probably be fair. You are making many sacrifices and you are living on an extreme to do that job. So people will
Mhm.
look at you at those functions and say, whoa, what a great job you have. They don't know the sacrifice that's come. They don't know that you wake up at 6 and you work till 10. Then you travel home because lots of superintendents don't live in the same city where they work. Like, there's sacrifice after sacrifice that, people like you and I, we're not making those same sacrifices, but we're not superintendents or directors of education. So I think when I do the 10,000 feet and I look down, I see people ignoring that aspect of these things. People want something, but 95% of these people don't want to put in the time
Mhm.
or make the sacrifices to get there. So that's why I say to you, when I commit to something, it I will chase it until it kills me if I want it that bad. And I know that there's going to be sacrifices and it's dangerous. And so I joke that when my son was born, when Ben was born, he's 17, my mindset shifted. I became scared to make commitments. And it's because before Ben was born, every commitment I made, I was in, and only my wife had to suffer, so to speak, but she would be informed, hey, I'm doing this and I'm not going to stop until I get here. Okay. And as soon as she says, okay, boom, I'm gone. When my son was born and I saw that, oh my God, I can't go to sleep for 8 hours. Like, I have to wake up in the
Mhm.
middle of the night to feed him. And when I come home from work, my wife is exhausted, which means I can't do these 3 hours of whatever to continue to be great at what it is I was chasing. I need to spend time with him and I need to give her time. And, when I saw all that, I was like, oh, shoot, like, I'm in trouble if I make a commitment, if I make a rolling commitment, which is nothing else matters except what's in front of me. So then eventually I learned that my family had to be my commitment. My family had to be the commitment so that the people around me who weren't part of my family would be like, he's crazy. Look at the time he
Mhm.
gives his family. But my family's like, oh, we like this. You know what I mean? So now it's like literally I don't often, it's more rare for me these days to make a big commitment because I'm scared of the danger.
Yeah.
Like this podcast, 6 years. I made when I'll never forget the day that I said to you, "Do you wanna do this?" Because in my brain, it was like, "I'm committed. What's it gonna look like?" And if we did land on Tuesday night at 7 PM, then I would do everything in my power to make Tuesday at 7 PM work. And it would
Mhm.
be you that might say, "Yeah, I can't do this Tuesday." I'm like, "Okay, that's on you. I'm committed to the Tuesday." Just like when you messaged me last night, I know you gotta go in a couple of minutes. My son had a birthday party, so I was out and I was doing stuff at the mall while he was at the birthday party. I get home, all I wanted to do, all I wanted to do was lay on the couch, watch college football, and I had some chocolate, and I just wanted to eat my chocolate. That's all I wanted. So I'm literally eating my chocolate watching football, and you text me, and you're like, "Bro, I can do 7 to 8:15 type of thing." I'm like, I literally looked at my phone, I put a piece of chocolate in my mouth. I'm like, I'm in. I don't care how long I stay up tonight to watch football or how
Mhm.
much chocolate I consume. As soon as I told you I was in, I was in. And this morning, I sent you the link and everything, and I was here. We
Mhm.
were here ready to rock. I made that commitment. That's just how I roll. It's not a huge commitment, but it was like the minute I said, I'm in, I'm in. I will be up and I will do everything I need to do.
It's funny like the
Whereas
condition. Go ahead. Go,
Sorry, I
go.
just need to say other people don't see it that way, and I don't get
Yeah.
along with those people anymore. When they say to me, "Yeah, I'll do this with you on this day," that day
Yeah.
comes, they're like, "Oh, sorry." I'm like, "What do you fucking mean, sorry? You made a commitment."
Mhm.
Now, I don't operate like they do, so I need to be a little bit more humble. But I know
Yeah.
now I'm not hanging with that person because they can't make a commitment, and I take my commitments seriously. Sorry, I'll let you talk, and then we
Oh
can.
no, I was just to say it's the also I also there's some cool you can unpack some of the preconditions that have to be in place. I mean, again, it's the prep work. So part of it is you knowing you, it's you knowing your schedule, it's you knowing your family's schedule, it's you knowing that you got the resources to kind of bump up against an earlier start time. And all those things, the more work you do, it's like even in the restaurant biz, the mise en place, the the chopping and the measuring and the portioning, the cleaning is like 75% of the work. So that when it's go time, there's no question. You can commit, you can do it. And you know exactly how much you got in the fridge. And you also know the scarcity. I got 15 portions of the steak tonight. That's it. And then we're gonna have to sort of like shift to a different special. So you know all these things going in. You try and forecast sometimes to make sure you're compensating for the extra demands that can happen, but again, that because that there's you have to have you either well, AI helps you make those decisions now. Wisdom helps you make those decisions as well. So there's lots of cool stuff, preconditions or contextual conditions that have to be in place for you to look at your phone, drop a chunk of chocolate in your face, and then say, I'm down. It's there's actually nothing invisible here if you stop to really look at how you've set up your life to be open to opportunity. That's where I kind of look at it. And you don't know the opportunities that necessarily come your way. Like I don't know, looking back or even at the time, I don't think I was even considering if you were questioning whether or not specifically we'd be potting. I know I dropped a message saying I got to figure kind of stuff out. I had at some point had messaged you a polo or something like that. But I also didn't know if like you were like, I wasn't leveraging whether or not you wanted to or didn't want to. I was just trying to figure out whether or not it worked within my conditions. And then the assumption would be that if my conditions worked with your conditions, then we're going to be potting at a different time because the agreement is usually 7:45, right? That's what we've managed to make work in our life. But then you're always going to have these mitigatings. So today was a mitigating. You can make it work, and it's cool. Here we are. I dig it. I think that part again. Just last thing I'll close on this one is that the idea that somehow this was magical. means you're selling yourself short of the reflective practice of what you're actually doing actively to improve the odds that you're available to do the things that you want to do. So, again, we have a history of doing this pod at a certain time. There isn't much issue with doing it earlier, other than can we wake up at that time? Like that's sort of like kind of the basic, right? And does it fit into, whatever workout schedules or going to gas up the car in the morning, whatever those other little extras go. So I like that. I don't know how. It's funny, like you said to your boys, and I've seen this on countless Instagram influencers. Part of their sell is that it took me 30 years to learn this. You don't have to suffer like I suffered. And every time, like, I could teach you to do this in 1 week. I always think to myself, man, you're really, really stealing from those people's learning curve, right? Because they can replicate, but I don't know if they would be able to actually stay invigorated. Like, I don't know if they're gonna be able to. I don't like they can probably replicate your process, but it'll take them a while for your process to become something that's functional in their life, right?
Here it is. I'm not going to make any money off this, but I'm going to say it. So you have to suffer. So
I think so.
my advice to people would be, here's what I learned. Now, the next time you're in the middle of suffering, I need you to be aware. You need to milk that suffering for what it's worth. So put aside your feeling of garbage or whatever's happening to you, and start getting these lessons from the suffering. So it's almost like find the suffering, jump into it, and then take from it, because
Mhm.
you're going to need to suffer to get some of this, or else you're not going to build that discipline. Anyway, bro, I
Hmm.
want to honor your time. You're good to go. What do we got? Oh, it's Clough and Chids. I love it.
Just I tried doing it left-handed. I was drawing with my left hand.
I was going to say my beard is off a little bit, but I like it because I'm
I
imperfect.
couldn't make my every time. I couldn't, like, our chins
Yes.
are pointing to the center. I couldn't make that. I was trying them, like it's lolling to the center. I don't know.
Watch
It
that
was
become like your $1 million artwork, because
yeah,
it
yeah.
looks messed.
It's the left-handed. Yeah, I was sort of trying to do it with my left hand this morning. I don't know
Okay, go and suffer and get something from that suffering,
why.
Chris. And I
I'm gonna
can't wait to
go.
hear what you get from your suffering that I can't get, because I will not be suffering the same way.
You'll get a polo. You'll get one or two polos based on the day. So
Gary, you have a great day. Thanks for spending some time with us this morning.
thanks, Gary. Thanks for popping in early. Thanks for popping
Yeah,
in early.
we started early. This was,
Hey,
oh,
let me before you hit that. So when we go live,
yeah,
if you're a subscriber, does it send people an email saying we're about to go live?
yes.
Oh, okay, cool. I was wondering, yeah, just wondering if there's like prompting there. So no matter what time, when you hit record here, does it automatically connect with like the YouTube website and it says we're now on?
Yes,
Okay.
people are notified when,
I guess we could ask Gary if Gary's still
oh,
here. Gary, did you leave? How did you know we were starting earlier today? Sorry, I'm totally ignoring the person that's hanging with us. I was just curious about that because that's kind of cool. That's a cool free, right? Because that means if we're a little bit flexible, people know we're trying to hit the morning. But yeah, I was curious if
I
what
mean,
that is.
if I was really organized, I wonder when I set it up for, like, if I set up a time for us to do this tomorrow at 8 p.m. today, will
That
they
it
get
does a count. I
notified
know
today
there's a count. I know if you say
that
I know
tomorrow
in
we're
that,
going live?
yeah, yeah, there's a countdown that sort of, come back later kind of a thing where it'll be live in 12 hours. Or at least it used to be. Used to be. I don't know if it still does.
That I that No, it does that still. So if I book
Okay.
today for tomorrow at 8 p.m. and I share the
Yeah.
link with you, you click on that link, it'll take you to YouTube and it'll say tomorrow, like, yeah, it's counting down. Gary says
Okay, cool.
yes, notification.
Good.
Why'd that
Okay. I
go?
was
What
curious about
the?
that. Again,
There we go.
a
Okay.
nice a nice little freebie. That's kind of cool. You don't have to do any work. I like that it's instantaneous. You don't have to do anything on your end. You hit record, and anyone that is subscribing, that's like, yeah, they've gone live, which is pretty typical. That's what happens on Insta too, right? Like so and so is going now live with a video or whatever, doing a live feed or something. I like it. All right, man. I'll
Okay,
see you on
go
the flip
forth
side.
to your suffering and learn. Oh,
Yeah, I'll see you on the other side of
oh,
the
he says he
the
gets it when you go live. What is wrong with this
okay.
thing today? It's
Is it
working, it's
glitching?
not working anyway. Okay,
I'll
it
see you on the
is.
other side of
You have a great
the
time.
Arctic
Yes.
Arctic enema.
Okay. This was season 7, episode 2, number 267 of the Decoded Podcast. Peace.